Check, check. Just going to do a volume check here. Make sure that we can see everything on the screen good. Check, check. All right, volume's working. Let's make sure the cropping's working. All right, looks like we're good to go. So one of these days I'll figure out how to crop out the thumbnails, but that's okay. We have everything we need to see up there. Let's do our quick intro and get into it. Hello and welcome to Market Psychology 101, where we look for value in the markets when there's fear and are cautious when there's greed. Today's video, we're going to be taking a look at Bitcoin and crypto. So welcome to today's live stream. And Bitcoin, where are we at on the weekly? Well, I talked about this when we had that big sell-off. You see this little circle, or not circle, oval that I drew here. I drew this because this was our first 30% sell-off that we've had. We'll get rid of it for simplicity's sake. But I was comparing this to 2019 a little bit. And in 2019, we had 4 separate 30% sell-offs after that mid-cycle top. Yes, we had COVID. Would we have gotten a 30% sell-off there if we didn't have COVID? I don't know. But for the sake of this video, I'll assume not. But again, it's what happened. What I'm really keeping an eye on, though, overall, and again, correlation does not equal causation, and I do not base my analysis and outlook of buying opportunities purely off of last cycle or prior cycles. But it is interesting how after the bottom and when Bitcoin had the big move up, which again, very interesting, they had rate cuts near that time too, and supposedly rate cuts are coming in September. Whether it's 25 or 50 basis points, we'll see. If it's 50 basis points, I would be worried about a recession and a stock market drop being more imminent, but we will see. Sorry about my dogs. But it's interesting to me how it came down to the 50, then the 100-week moving average. It even got down to the 200. So we go forward to today from a time where, again, bottom to top, orange line was rate cuts. We had 4 30% drops to the 50 and the 100. Again, you can include COVID if you want. But today, we had our first 30%, or not today, a week or so ago, we had our first 30% drop, got down to the 50. I am wondering if we are going to hit somewhere around this 100 moving average. And we have all this price action support back here at around 45K. So when we had that big sell-off event where the VIX spiked, and look at the VIX now. The VIX spiked to somewhere like 60, 70, yeah. It's already come way down. If you see that, that's insane. I'm worried about this. I feel like this is a warning shot for the markets. It didn't take much from the yen carry trade to send shockwaves through the market of everyone fearing a flash crash. And there was a little bit of a flash crash, but nothing like 1987. I mean, what, we had a 5 to 10% correction on the S&P? What did we get here? VIX, third highest level since the great financial crisis, and only an 8% drop. So if the markets are that shaky, what's the VIX going to look like when there really is turmoil in the markets? Because right now things have been bullish for the last couple of years. Yes, this is a crypto video, but we still need to look at this. Since October of 22, the S&P's gone from 3,500 to 5,500, 2,000 points. That is not typical. And so I think a lot of people are smart enough to know that, yes, we are overstretched. And when a little bit of fear enters the market, there's a lot of panic that sets in. Again, third highest VIX spike since the Great Financial Crisis. Great Financial Crisis, COVID, yen carry trade. And I think, especially with rate cuts coming, whether it's next year or the year after, there's probably going to be big dips in the market. Something to keep track of, because Bitcoin often tops right before the market does. This is important to know. Just something that I'm not saying don't invest, but just to keep a macro perspective. This is why the rainbow chart is so important, whether you believe in it or not. And I'm not saying to base your whole investment strategy off of it, but I think it's important because we see these cycles of where we rip up and then sell way off for a while. Another 2 or 3 years down, rip up, sell down for a while, rip up. Yes, we had that double peak. This was all season, sell down for a while. And so I am anticipating, because it's done it 4 times before, I am anticipating we're going to have a rip up and then it's going to sell off for a while. The S&P, these green lines, remember how we have this double top? These green lines on this chart are every time we had a Bitcoin top. And you can see it topped right before we sold off, even in the stocks. 2017 topped right before we started going sideways. This was the 2019 mid-cycle top in June, right here. So it did go up a little bit more and then boom, crash. 2011 top, sold down. 2013 is a different one. Kept going for a bit. But overall, you can see the markets kind of peak and then go down or sideways. This one especially. So that's something I'm looking out for, is for us to peak kind of around the time the markets do. Does that mean another 4-year cycle where we top somewhere around August? Maybe get 138,000 to 225K Bitcoin? We will see. And by the way, welcome to everyone watching. It's only 4 of you, but that's okay. I know this channel will grow over time. Thankful for all of you who are here. So I think there is time for Bitcoin to make its move. I know these down weeks suck, but again, on this channel, we try to use fear as an indicator. So you see fear and greed, we are in fear. You can see ever since mid-July, we've just gone down. Let's take a look at the last year. Still in a downtrend. This is promising. We have some higher lows. Are we going to start an uptrend from fear to greed? I don't know. But we've come down quite a bit. So I am looking for us to settle somewhere and then start making higher lows. But we'll see how. Right now we're still in a downtrend on fear and greed. And we are in fear. So there might be opportunities. But when we had this big sell-off, guys, I talked about how, we had this big sell signal, and typically we do follow with another weekly red candle. When we get, this is why I have Heikin-Ashi candles, by the way. It cuts out the noise. But when we get a sell signal, typically we get at least another red weekly candle. Sometimes 3 or 4 more, but it's usually not just one. So we have started another red weekly candle. On the daily, Bitcoin was holding on to the 200. You can see it fell underneath. Now, it is showing higher lows here. So maybe there's a wall of call options. I don't know. But if falling away from the 200 on the daily is concerning. Wicked all the way up to the 50 moving average. People were saying V bottom reversal. Nope. I I didn't think it was anyways, but it's funny how many people are saying this is going to be a V recovery bottom. We're going to blast off to 100K. Nope. There wasn't any evidence for that. And when I look at Bitcoin, it's very correlated to the S&P, so we can't ignore it. If the markets are going down, Bitcoin's going down. Unless the markets are V-bottoming, reversal, and doing great, I wouldn't expect it from Bitcoin. So I will say yesterday, some of the top stocks were very green. And so I was wondering if this continues. Of course, I would bet on that flowing over into Bitcoin. But right now, they're just kind of sideways a little bit. But Bitcoin, what I'm looking at here now that it broke away from this 200-day moving average, you can see we're in this downward channel. And I am looking at the lower end of this channel, somewhere around 54.5 for some possible better value. Go over to the weekly. What else do we have? We have the 50-week moving average moving up there as well. And as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to stocks, because I like buying a lot of stocks, when it comes to stocks, the 50-week moving average is what separates a stock from being bullish or bearish. And it's okay for it to bounce, and the 50-week can be great value. But when it gets under, in my opinion, it turns bearish. We can take a look. Let's find a stock here, something like Microsoft. There you go. Microsoft hit the 50, hit the 50-week, hit the 50, broke underneath, bearish. But great opportunities to buy. Again, all because something's bearish doesn't mean you don't buy it. I mean, look at this. If you're willing to be patient, it was at 260. Yes, it went lower, but if you would have been patient, a year later, you're already in profits. So, something to consider and think about. So we might hit the 100-week moving average like we did in 2019, and I would be fine for that. I'd be looking for value there. I don't know if we're going to get a 4-year cycle or top by the end of this year, but I think the range is probably going to be somewhere in between there. Again, I'm not basing my whole strategy off this, but it's something important to note because of how cyclical Bitcoin has been with these halving cycles, is that you can see, and I've shown this probably every week, that from when we make new all-time highs to the peak, the average is 300 days. This was the reason I did this, by the way, is because this was the first time we ever had a new all-time high before the halving. That was the first time ever. The halving has always come before the next cycle peak. It's always come before, okay? Here, there was no new all-time highs before the halving. This time was different. We hit like 74K, which was higher than what we got back here. So we had a new all-time high before the halving. So I did the numbers. And on average, when we do make a new all-time high until the next peak, that's 300 days. That puts us at the end of the year. If you go take your average from the halving to the next peak, the average is 484 days. It puts us out in August. So 2 different data points, but the way I look at this is, really, I don't care, but this is kind of the range I'm watching for. And in last week's video, we talked about how there's a lot of confluence around this point right here. We have this trend line that Bitcoin's been smacking into and snaking around, coming up to this line. Okay, well, they meet there, so what? We have a trend line from the 2 Bitcoin peaks in 2021 coming up really close to there. Okay, so what? If we take our fib retracement take it off log scale and look. That's what you have to do to look for higher price targets. We have the 1618 at 100K meeting right around here. It's a lot of confluence right there. And so I am curious if we are going to be anywhere near there at the end of the year. If not, that's okay. It could be a bunch of coincidences that I noticed. Does not mean it has to line up. Again, correlation does not equal causation, but we will see if that means anything. As far as Bitcoin dominance, that's important to look at. And speaking of trend lines, so we have this descending trend line from the 2017 peak. I drew it as close as I could to this peak in 2020. December 2020, by the way, that's when Bitcoin was making a new all-time high from the 2017 peak. We just ran into that, and we ran into this trend line that was the base here, and hit some other key points back there. So I have those two trend lines. We ran into it, and it's kind of funny how right where they meet, wicked above, but have not closed above. Now, Bitcoin might get micro bullish within the next couple weeks. Anytime Bitcoin dominance gets extended like this, it can come down and money can start flowing into altcoins a little bit and people can be bullish again. Unless we're breaking under this 20-week moving average, getting down to the 50. Again, just like I was talking about with the 50 before, bullish, bearish. If we break under the 50 and start dropping, that's when I'm looking for alt season. If we break under 50. Now look at this. We had this fake out. I'm curious when that happened. June of 2020. Okay. We were making that high in December of 2020. The new all-time high. So we were in new all-time high territory and then dropped down. Curious what'll happen this time. But if we start to drop underneath there, when Bitcoin dominance tanks, that has been the time alts explode. And so my base case for Bitcoin dominance is to be at least at or above this level. We've smacked into it. Hitting a little bit of resistance. Is it because of trend lines? I don't know. But again, I would not be surprised to see a little bit of positive price action sometime soon. Just if this comes back to the 20 moving average. And that won't change my opinion if all of a sudden a bunch of alts go 10% up. That won't change my outlook at all. Again, I'm looking for this to really break down. But I think Bitcoin dominance has even a little bit more room to run. I would not be surprised to see it get a little bit higher. If we look at what happened last time with dominance, where did it peak? Well, when we take a look at 2017, there's these two areas where it first fell and the second time where it fell. There was some, that was the peak that it hit twice. And so right here is the area I'm looking for. You see how it's the first time we fell, second time there's kind of a base, 62%. Actually, I'm going to draw a line there. I keep talking about it, but if I had to guess, this would be the top for Bitcoin dominance this cycle, if I had to guess. But we'll see. I think for me, this is my base case. And then if we get up here, I'm going to be looking at the altcoin market exploding. By the way, for any of you guys watching, do you own any altcoins on Coinbase or Robinhood? And if so, which ones? Let's look at Tether dominance. Someone in the comments asked me to look at this before. Again, refresher for Tether dominance if you are not familiar. Let's take off the moving averages. We have this trend line going up from these dips on Tether. And by the way, if you're if you don't know what Bitcoin dominance is at 57%. That means 57% of all money in crypto is in Bitcoin. Tether is a stable coin. It's always around $1. So if things are volatile, you exchange your crypto for Tether so you don't lose the value of your portfolio. 5.84% of all crypto money is in Tether. What's important is that every time Tether hits this trend line, that's been the 2017 top, the 2019 mid-cycle top, we talked about that earlier, right here, and I'm going to show you these tops too, the COVID top and these two double peaks. COVID top right before the dump and the double top right here. This was the first time we topped, and I have this, let's get rid of that. I have this question mark here because for a while I've not been sure on what to call this. What do we call this peak? I'm going to call it the pre-halving peak. People are turning mega bullish in March, if you remember. And I was wondering, is this a 2019 mid-cycle top? Or are we going to keep going further? Well, that was the local top. We've been in a downward channel. And I'm looking at something in the style of a correction, something like this with Tether. We'll see. But after the COVID dump in the 2019 mid-cycle top, man, Tether dominance got way higher. So if we had something similar to back here before the top, that would mean Tether dominance would be going way up, somewhere above this 9.5% level. All things being equal, can you imagine if all of a sudden Tether just shot up here? I mean, let's look at that for a moment. Let's look. Can I zoom in a bit more? Okay, so we remember this was the COVID bottom in the 2019 mid-cycle top. I'm just curious if we draw a fib. Does this show us anything? Oh. Yeah, we have to look at the fib on log scale. Okay. Ignore the green lines for a second. I'm just drawing from this bottom to there. When we had the 2021 peak, you could see it retraced to the 0.5. And so if this was our mid-cycle top, whatever fib we would eventually draw, we'd be looking for it to retrace to the 0.5. If it's something similar, I'm not sure. Is Bitcoin dominance at its top for the cycle? I think base case, in my opinion, me too. This was the area I was watching for as my base case for Bitcoin dominance to get to. We just talked about this about 5 minutes ago, but I do think maximum, in my opinion, I could see it getting up around this level. And this is purely just off comparing it to what 2021 did in relation to 2017. You can see here how Bitcoin dominance fell, had this area went sideways, and then it spiked up. And that was the area that dominance peaked at. Well, when dominance fell and then had some sideways action, I think it, and you can see even right here, I think right there is our range if we're comparing it. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm looking at. Again, on the weekly, if this was a stock, I'd be super bullish because on the weekly, it just keeps smacking the 20 moving average and going up. Now, right now, it's hitting a little bit of resistance right on the trend line. But I would not be surprised to see this all of a sudden one day just rip up. Whenever stocks do this, most of the time that I've seen, when they grind up and hit the 20-week moving average and that's it, they don't get to the 50, eventually they have a big move up. And that's what I'm watching for. I wonder if any of our Mag 7 stocks have kind of done that, honored the 20-week moving average. Some of these come down a little bit more. Okay, actually, Meta. Would you look at that? Meta's been hitting the 20-week moving average. Nothing lower. How about that? So, yeah, Meta would be one where I'd be looking for a big move up. But I wanted to look at something in the past like Microsoft. Yeah, here we go. Microsoft hitting 20, 20, 20. They can have big moves up. 20, 20. And they can start to really rip before they fall. The big rip is typically before they fall. Let's take a look at Ethereum. That was my understanding of Bitcoin dominance. Okay. Yeah. And I'd say, you can also wait for confirmation. Like, let's treat Bitcoin dominance like a stock, if you will. If this was a stock, let's wait for confirmation to the downside. Do we have a sell signal? No. I have these red and green dots. I have other buy-sell signal indicators on there. I might throw on a different one that's this is more of a lagging indicator. This buy-sell signal, by the way, is great in bear markets because it's less prone to fake outs. But if we get a big macro sell signal, which we have not had, since, look at this, January of this year. You know what was happening in January of this year? People probably already forgot. The Bitcoin ETF approval. That's the last time we had a buy signal. When are we going to get a sell signal? My God. We've been going up for a while. And so, what does it look like on the monthly? Guys, look at this. On the monthly, this confirmed when Bitcoin dominance was tanking the last couple times. Well, 2017 way up here. But you can take a look at some of those more macro indicators to kind of confirm when it's going down. That's something I'm going to be watching for. This is adding a lot of noise to the charts, so I'm going to remove that just for now. Ethereum, I wanted to take a look at this because we have this trend line it nearly smacked into. Now, we have these wick. I don't like drawing trend lines from wicks. Sorry, my phone's going crazy. I don't totally like drawing trend lines from wicks. I rather do the candle body. And if we do from the candle body, excuse me. If we do from the candle body, we nearly wicked into it. Now, Ethereum is I think it's on log scale, it is. It's hanging out on the 618, and it has that 100-week moving average as support. But man, Ethereum has not been at this level in some time, since November of 23. So I would not be shocked to see Ethereum come down underneath this 618 macro fib. I would not be shocked to see that. But again, we would have to wait for confirmation of more weakness coming into the market. Right now, it's caught between the 50 and the 100. Let's go to the daily. Yeah, look how it just fell. Man, it was showing a lot of weakness right here with the 200. This was kind of a warning shot here. If we would have been watching this closer, maybe I need to look at Ethereum more. But you can see how it got decently under the 200 hung on by a thread, came up, and then just fell off. And right here, we've had a little relief bounce. That's normal. But in my opinion, this isn't looking too strong. So if we start to hang on by a thread with the 618, I'm watching this 0.5 area. But in my opinion, that's good deep value for Ethereum. If you're looking for a possible long-term play, you get Ethereum around the 200 weekly. That's usually pretty good. You can see we're not at or under the 200 weekly too often. Again, it's brand new back here. But the 200 week moving average is deep value. So is the 100 week. Let's take a look at total 3. Total 3, which typically looks like Ethereum, funny enough. So that's the total market cap, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. Total 3, yeah, kind of looking like Ethereum. Hanging at the 50 week, but, it's not at the 100 quite. Hanging at the 50, but man, does this not look weak? I know Bitcoin's in a downward descending channel, but this is even deeper. The angle of it is even deeper. So we're on a buy-sell signal. Actually, instead of a buy-sell signal indicator, let's throw on some of our RSIs. We'll go back and forth between the relative strength index and the stochastic. So RSI is still going down, but you can see from the degree is going down. It is kind of leveling out a little bit. Let's see what the daily shows. Daily looks weak to me as well. Now this peak it made back here is a new deeper peak. So with the RSI, what I watch for is not the first peak, but every peak or dip after when it's oversold. And if it gets oversold again but stays higher, then we have bullish divergence, and that may be a bottom. Now, can it dip more than once? Sure. But that would be something to watch for. Do we have any proof or evidence of that? Yeah, look right here. See how deep it went? Now, yes, it went overbought again, but again, if you would have bought it the second, the third time, and the peaks are higher, that was bullish divergence. We're just showing bullish. Sorry, because the price wasn't lower, so it's not quite bullish divergence. But that is what I'm looking for in the RSI, is higher peaks right here. And the way it's looking to me, I would not doubt if it comes back down. But again, is the price going to be lower? Or is it going to be higher when it does? If the price is lower, RSI is higher, bullish divergence. Either way, that could be signaling a local bottom. And if it came down somewhere right here, look at that. There's some price action back here, some possible support. 452. What would that be on the weekly? It's a little bit above the 200. It's curious how total 3 is holding up a little bit better than Ethereum strength-wise. So you see it's at the 50 week, Ethereum at the 100 week. Usually these two look very similar to each other. So I would not be surprised to see total 3. That's the altcoin market. Hold on to your altcoins. Bitcoin miners too. Do not be surprised to see them come down a little bit. Again, we have the 382 fib right there. Let's make sure our fib's on log scale. Good. And let's stretch that out. You can see how long it's been since we've truly looked at that. No, I didn't draw that perfect. That's okay. But we have that 382 fib line and price action. I think that's a good area for support candle body wise. Sure, it might wick down here to the 236, but typically if an asset stays above the 382, to me that's kind of like the 50-week moving average. I still have hope for it. If it starts getting under the 382, I feel like it's going to be dead for a while, unless the whole market turns very bullish. So that I would be watching this for total 3, me personally. maybe this downward move isn't quite as close to being done as we've been thinking. Let's take a look at some of the bigger altcoins. Let's take a look at Chainlink, Solana. So Chainlink showing a lot of weakness. I would not look at that wick, by the way. I would not be surprised to see Chainlink get down to this level again. This is holding on by a thread to the 200-week moving average. So if Chainlink all of a sudden starts breaking down, I could see it forming a base around here at $8.50. Let's take a look at Solana. Cool. Solana's been one of the strongest alts, and man, you're seeing some weakness here. And the price has been going sideways. I would not be shocked, again, if this continues. If Solana is one of the strongest. My cat says hi. I don't know if you hear meowing. I don't know if Solana is one of the strongest altcoins by chart. To me, it seems like it is, but if Solana all of a sudden breaks down to this 100-week moving average, or even this 618 fib at 71, and just overall price gets divided in half, man, watch out. Just some things to be on the lookout for, because again, Ethereum and Total 3 usually look very similar. I just noticed that today during this live stream. There's a little bit of a difference. Total 3 is holding up better than ETH. So Solana hanging out here, but lower high. What else did I want to talk about today that we haven't talked about? Have we talked about the alt season index? I don't think so. But this is important to know too. We were in this downtrend to the bottom, then we started this uptrend. And then we've been talking about this, how fear and greed's been in a downtrend, alt season index been in a downtrend. And that is a downtrend important enough to take notice of. And if it all of a sudden breaks down a little bit further, I would not be surprised. So it's looking pretty weak. But again, does that mean we can't dollar cost average and get some deeper value? No, of course we can. So should we get one of these cycle peaks? Yes, altcoins could get murdered another whatever, 10, 20% from where they are. 15 to 40%. That could happen. But again, you can look for some good deep value. Altcoins are, man, it's like crypto lottery. But if you pick the right ones, this is where you get the most bang for your buck return. These are the things that will do a 10x, a 20x, a 50x, or they have the last two cycles. So something to watch for. Do I think alts have bottomed? No. But am I not buying any alts? No. I'm looking for some good dollar cost average value, because I also don't want to miss out either. And one of my strategies, by the way, for dollar cost averaging in is, let's get the stochastic. So the stochastic on the weekly, I'm looking for it to flip bullish. Now here you see a lot of weakness, but it's also winding down. Once it starts going back up, I'm talking about the blue above the orange. My cat's knocking things off the table. Awesome. Once the blue starts going above the orange and we have a buy signal, I think that presents good opportunities to buy. So again, stochastic, we're looking for that to go up, and we're looking for a buy signal as well, which we've not had. If we get both those things, those are that on the weekly, again, we're on the weekly time frame, overall tends to be great dollar cost average times to buy. And you're not going to hit the exact bottom, and doing the opposite, you're not going to hit the exact top. But if I can get 80% of the profits in the middle, that sounds great to me. So if you think of it like a sandwich, I don't need to get the whole entire sandwich. I don't need the exact bottom. That's a couple ways to look for confirmation. Obviously, our buy-sell signals, we have our fibs, our moving averages to tell more of a story too. But those are things to look for. Let's go over to Bitcoin. Actually, there's one more alt I wanted to take a look at because some of you guys might be watching. XRP. We talked about this, how XRP has been hanging out under the 382. Man, when I have to laugh at this so recently. After we had that big 30% sell-off in Bitcoin, XRP started to rip, and I started to read on X. People are saying XRP is going to lead the next bull run. V bottom recovery reversal. And XRP was up here where it's been before. I was talking to a friend of mine who's much more of a risky trader, if you will. And we were talking about XRP, and he says, you think it's going to go higher? You think these guys are right? I said, no, I think it's the same old thing. XRP is a range trader's battlefield. I'm like, he asked, should I short it? I said, I would. I'm more of a spot buyer. I buy, I hold, I play the cycles, and it's worked out for me really well. But he shorted it like right damn near the top and has been making great money. And should XRP break underneath this key resistance, well, all the resistance is close. Man, I don't know. I got to ask him if his short is still open. But again, this channel is for, hey, I want this to be for people new to crypto. Looking at, hey, is answering the essential questions. Is now a good value time to buy or not? What is crypto? What is Bitcoin? Well, one of the things with Bitcoin price, we have these cycles. We are not at the peak of the cycle, so if you pick the right alt, good value time to buy. Even for XRP, is XRP at a good value time to buy? I don't think it's at a bad time. We just had a weekly buy signal, sure. We're above key support, sure. And if you like XRP and you did your research, you want to buy it here, I would not blame you. And if it goes down here and you get a discount on your XRP and you want to buy more, I think you're buying at great deep value. But something important to know, guys, is the way the professionals look at charts is when they see a chart like this, that looks weak to them. It doesn't look worth touching. We just looked at Solana, and you can take a look at any stock charts. They're not hanging out down here, good stocks right now, when you draw a fib. They're hanging out up here. That shows strength. It shows volume. So crypto, it's more of a gamble on whether or not some of these alts are going to get up back to their 786 or higher. And that's something I talked about in my recent video on XRP that pissed a lot of people off. And I said that's okay. But when you draw a fib from the last macro high to low, and I didn't even draw it perfectly, but the point still stands. XRP only made it to the 786. And I said, hey, that's probably what's, in my opinion, what's going to happen with Doge. Maybe we'll take a look at Doge next. It's more of an altcoin video. That's okay. And I'm like, if it only gets back up there, well, base case, 2x is a 2x. There's nothing bad about that. But if XRP is everything these shills said it would be, it'd be a lot higher and way less volatile. Let's take a look at Doge. So Doge, again, this is nothing against Elon Musk or Doge, which, by the way, Doge is an inflationary token. Trying to hydrate better nowadays. Taking a break from drinking for a while. Not water, but Sometimes I like to take a month off or so. and I feel great. I think faster, better. So, wasn't struggling with alcohol or anything, but sometimes just to remind myself I can do it and I can control myself, I'll just take a month or two off of drinking and it feels great. But anyways, back to the stream. Doge, this is nothing against Elon. No anti-Elon, anti-Doge, nothing at all. Good deep value, sure. Again, crypto charts compared to stock charts look like crap. There's no denying it when you look at it on a fib retracement. But is Elon tweeting about Doge going to have the same impact it did here when we had stimulus money and record low rates all at the same time? I don't think so. Doge was at nearly 100 billion. I'm in the camp where, I think Doge might only get up somewhere around 40-ish cents. And I have some Doge. I bought some Doge down here when it was at deep value. Of course I want it to go to $5-10. But I'm ready to pull my initial investment back if it doesn't. So we shall see about Doge. What's been some other altcoins? Fetch, man. Fetch, it has AI in the name. I saw this funny meme. If you guys have seen Wolf of Wall Street, this meme is it's from the end of it, where Leonardo DiCaprio says, "Sell me this pen," and no one can sell it to him. And the meme shows the guy holding the pen, and it says, "Well, it has AI." And it's like, I've researched Fetch, and to me, like, I've been in the last couple cycles, I'm like, it just feels like another altcoin, but man, it has AI in the name, Fetch.ai. And so, of course, this is one that just rips. Yeah, Fetch, it's losing that 100 week. I would not be surprised to see Fetch come down here to 62. I might pick up some Fetch at 62 if it retraces all the way. Man, if it comes back further, ugh. If it came down to 37, hey, I'd buy more. But yeah, I haven't looked at some of these altcoins in a little bit. I guess we were looking at price extensions, because the last time we were like, is it going to break above ICP? Didn't break above the 100 week. Let's drag that out a little bit. So ICP, Internet Computer. Some of the names for these alts. Jasmy, oh my God, it's under 2 cents again. Jasmy, altcoin people like a lot. I would not be surprised to see it get over to the 17-cent range. Okay, drew that out all right. Or 17 cents. 1.8 pennies, 1.7 pennies. We have a comment. Disclosure, kids. Can you look at Gary Network? Gary Network. I don't think that's available on Coinbase, but we'll take a look anyways. Yeah, it's not on Coinbase. We'll take a quick look. Guys, on this channel, I want you to know that, we did this last time. Yeah, I said this looks like a piece of crap because it made a new low and it's come back up to its former low. Yeah, that's why I only take a look at Coinbase and Robinhood stuff, because when you get off Coinbase and Robinhood, man, the legit Las Vegas casino, when you get off those sites, turn into someone's basement casino. So we're not taking a look at Gary Network anymore. Hey, I don't want any of you buying Gary Network. That looks like crap. Not saying you can't make money, but man, that looks awful. Come on, man. We got to get you some gambling help. This is guy are you part of the Gary team? Are you trying to shill Gary to my followers? Get out of here. I would not be touching that stuff with the 10-foot pole. But Bitcoin, let's get back on track here. Bitcoin still in this downward channel, still above the 50-week moving average. But it is looking like it is showing some weakness. Now, last time we had the big sell-offs, we did have higher lows that signaled the bottom. Is this going to be the higher low? Again, we have to go by candle body as far as right now. Here, the candle body went lower, but the wick went higher. That was such a big sell-off. But I don't know if you guys have seen the movie The Dark Knight Rises, where Bane's a bad guy. But one of my favorite lines, when he's talking to Bruce Wayne after he broke his back, he said, "There can be no true despair without hope." Well, we had hope, and now it's the despair. But, it's a possible great value times to buy. Again, it's weak. Look for confirmation so you're not catching falling knives. We talked about that with the stochastic, and we have one of our buy-sell signals on. Those are those dots. Let's take a look at some minors. Actually, before we get to the minors, I had a comment asking about the pi cycle indicator. So let's get rid of that one, and let's take a look at the pi cycle. Now, I'm sure this has been making the rounds. This pi cycle indicator is called the highs and the lows. Here, by the way, you see my fib, how it has the extra 0.09? That's to catch these fake outs. We had a black swan event at the bottom, and it called that perfectly. This, for all intents and purposes, was the low, and then we had a black swan event at the low. So I don't think that's invalidated. Pi cycle top, called the high and the low of Bitcoin, 2017, 2018. Called the high and the low. If you would have sold the high back in 2013, you would have missed out here. So obviously things can happen. But we have this upper white line, that moving average. When we just touched it, it immediately went sideways. And guys, this is actually what stocks do. Actually, 2019 did the same thing. It touched it, went above a little, and started to just go sideways and down. Kind of like we're doing right now. Touched it, sideways and down. So, again, a lot of things are looking more and more like 2019, especially with the timing of rate cuts. Rate cuts haven't happened yet, but when they do, I would not be surprised to see Bitcoin go even lower if it's like 2019, because rate cuts were near the top and then it went even lower. So I would not be surprised to see that happen. And then right when rate cuts are about bottoming, then we may have a local bottom. Now, rate cuts, they might just cut and steadily cut until they bottom. Something important to know, that's one scenario. But something important to know is back in the dot-com bubble, let's go take a trip back in time. When they started cutting rates, they raised again. They started cutting rates. People thought that was the top of the bubble in 98. And they cut down a few to 4, and then they raised again. So if all of a sudden inflation is sticky, starting to rise, and they start raising, well, then the bubble may go into overdrive. This AI Mag 7 bubble, or AI 5 bubble, if you will. If all of a sudden they start cutting and inflation starts going up and they pause and then start raising, we may see the markets rip. And I know it's opposite from what you would think it'd do. But man, when we cut, those tend to be the local bottoms. Let's get back to Bitcoin. So many lines, goddamn. Something important to think about with the Bitcoin pi cycle indicator, it signaled the tops and bottoms. And this is, again, another reason why we talk about the rainbow chart, because it is a logarithmic, again, factor of 10, log scale, regression chart, which means diminished returns. As we keep going sideways here, the pi cycle, we're not going to be hitting pi cycles. One of these cycles, whether it's this one or the next, eventually we won't be flashing these highs and lows every cycle. And that may be this time around that we don't flash the high. So don't fall in love with one indicator and say, well, when we hit the pi cycle high, that is the top. This might not flash because, again, we have a logarithmic regression for Bitcoin. You can't deny that's the case. So I'll talk about that in next week's rainbow chart video, but I wanted to make sure to talk about it today because someone asked about that in one of the recent comments. Let's go over to some of the Bitcoin miners. And I started talking about this last week, how one of my favorite things with the Bitcoin mining stocks is that it reminds me, the Bitcoin mining stocks remind me more of the 2017 altcoins. In 2017, there weren't tens of thousands of altcoins. Here there were even more. Now there's like hundreds of thousands. Bitcoin mining stocks, you get a competitive advantage where you can look at their freaking balance sheets, man, and see their assets to liabilities. You can take a deeper, more educated look under the hood. We saw that with Wolf, that the total liabilities is around 155 total and total current, and its total assets over twice as much, but the total current assets way less. We saw it with CleanSpark. It was an even better ratio. Let's take a look at Marathon here. And so with there only being so many Bitcoin mining stock companies, I think you have a really good advantage to see which ones are going to possibly be the safer play should we get another cycle. Again, like the rainbow chart shows us. So Marathon Digital Holdings, total current 1 billion, assets, total assets 2 billion. So 1 billion, 2 billion, total current, total. And the trend is overall up. That's great. 33 million current liabilities, total liabilities 375. So 1/3. Anytime you get a ratio above 1, especially 2, that's a good stock. So I like how Mara looks here. Just a quick glance at the balance sheet. I like how that looks. And yes, there's weakness, but when you're looking for Bitcoin mining stocks, if you are, that should be something you're researching. Again, you want to research the most positive and the most negative things you can find out about the company. And if you are able to overall weigh it as unbiasedly as possible, you want to be objective, and you still feel good about it, okay, then we look at deep value times to buy. Right now, deep value time to buy. But again, when I'm looking to buy, I'm looking for buy-sell signal to confirm. We don't have that on the weekly, whether it's this buy-sell signal or this one I like, again, for a refresher. I like to use this one more in a bear market because it's less prone to fake outs. But you can take a look at that and the stochastic RSI flipping positive. Stochastic, look at this, still negative, but when the blue starts to flip above the orange, if you would have bought that, a great time to buy. Again, dollar cost averaging in, you would be catching some great times to buy. So you can do the stochastic method, and overall, yes, you're not getting just the exact bottom, but it's impossible to. But overall, you're looking pretty good, so I'm willing to be patient here. And again, if I can get 70, 80% of the profits in the middle, I'm fine with that. I don't need to eat the whole sandwich. I don't need to get the exact bottom. So that's one way I look at dollar cost averaging in, because I don't know where the true bottom is. It might be even lower, and that's fine. But again, if you do your research and you like something enough to buy it here, then you need to love it and buy it here. Here, market psychology. Look for value in the markets when there's fear. There's fear right now. There might become more fear. Great. You want to feel hungry when there's more fear. You don't want that to shock you out of the market. So Mara, looking pretty bearish, though we do have this higher low. Let's take a look at the daily. Yeah, it's encountering some resistance around that 0.5 fib. I mean, this green candle, it's okay. Maybe we'll come back up to here. but some good deep value for Mara. Let's run through these kind of semi-quick. Riot, man, Riot's looking pretty weak. Single green candle, but man, this thing's holding on. But again, you can apply those things I just told you about. Look for some confirmation. If Riot all of a sudden came down to the $7 mark, I would not be surprised. Clean Spark. Cypher. Cypher is one of my new favorites. Clean Spark. Holding on to that moving average, the 100 and the 200. And the candle body still on that 618 fib. Never was able to get above the 786. But again, if Clean Spark gets down to this trend line, I would not be shocked. And maybe even hits this 382 at around $6. Could you imagine? If we get more of a sell-off in crypto in the near future, you guys got to be ready. I'm showing you the indicators I use and ways I look at it. Again, nothing I say is financial advice, but just trying to help you guys consider certain ways to look for deep value. Cypher, one of my new favorite ones, because I love their balance sheet. And I like the way it's just slowly grinding up. But it's got to hold on to the 618 in these moving averages. Good support, very strong support here. If it starts breaking under that, man, then you're looking at the 0.5. But if I'm buying Cypher here, you better believe I'm buying it here and here. I don't care. I'll wait for the stochastic to flip, of course, not just purely catch the fib and the falling knife. Though I will say you can set a buy order. You know, we talked about this with Link. If you're setting buy orders on Robinhood based off your fib and you drew this macro fib from the last high to low, you had this fib line down here, you could have had a buy order waiting for a while at 860 and scooped it up. So that's more advanced level, in my opinion. Wolf, let's take a look at Wolf. Got a lot of people in the comments who like Wolf. So Wolf, it showed weakness when it got to the 200 week, but showing strength off the 382. You see the 382 and the 100 week moving average showing some strength. This is going to be a battle here with the 0.5 and the 200 week at around the high $4 mark if it gets back up there. But TerraWolf, I think, has a lot of potential to run up. And looking at market cap, 1.5 billion. When we take a look at some of the best Bitcoin mining stocks like Mara, it is up at 83. And right now it has a 4 billion market cap. So 83, that's about 5 times higher. So is around 25 billion. This just gives us kind of a range of where market caps on some of the other miners might get to in the next run. Just an idea in the most bullish scenario. So something to keep in mind. Again, I love that I did that XRP video. So many people in that XRP video was like, what are you talking about market cap? This argument's stupid. Market cap can be whatever I want to be. Sarcasm, of course, on my part. But I was telling people, like, yeah, you can love XRP, but if you're saying these price predictions of 10,000, it cannot have a market cap of 500 trillion. It just can't. It's so detached from reality. And that pissed so many people off, and I'm glad it did. Because, again, I think those people are either brainwashed or trying to scam others and in the cult, or some combination of both. But it's not going to get that high. If the top stocks in the world are at around 3 trillion right now, that's what I'd look at for Bitcoin in the most bullish scenario, somewhere around there. Or maybe even 5 trillion. That would be fine for me. But if someone's saying Bitcoin's going to hit a price in the next year or two that would give it a market cap of 10 trillion, 20 trillion, I'm going to tell them you're crazy. I don't believe it. So That's why market cap matters. And yes, I know market cap is not stagnant. Obviously, we have inflation. Market cap organically goes up. I remember when people thought that 1 trillion market cap was crazy, but market cap's always going to organically go up with inflation. So, Bit Digital, holding on to some of these moving averages pretty good. It's at 261. I'm worried about this turning into a head and shoulders, and then we get one big sell-off. Bit Digital comes down here. Something to keep in mind. Bit Farms. Just going over some things. I'll be wrapping this up soon. Bit Farms at the trend line. Maybe this will hold. I like all this support. 0.5, all the moving averages, trend line. But again, I'd be taking a look at what the stochastic is showing. Look at that nice recovery. It's pretty good. Though it keeps running into that 100-day moving average. You guys out there in the comments, you own any miners? Any mining stocks? Man, look at Iron ran right into that 618 FIP that it's had struggles with before. We'll see what happens. Right now it's on the 200-day. It's this trend line. A little bit like Bit Farms. Cores. Man, someone brought up Core Scientific into my comments early when it was back here. Could have had a 4X, but let's be realistic here. Any new IPO stock, altcoin, I don't touch for a year or two because I want that competitive advantage. But chart-wise, hey, we were able to draw fib. Came down to 382. Now it's back above the 50-day moving average. So, yay, good for you, Cores. Anything else I want to visit before we wrap this up? Bitcoin, like I said, first thing, showing weakness on the daily. It's lost the 200-day moving average. So then we go to the weekly. And what's next is everything down here, 54.5. Now, maybe there's a call wall somewhere, and it's going to hold up. We'll see. But I will not be shocked if Bitcoin gets down to the 54 range. So, I'm going to open up the live stream for questions. Anyone have any questions about altcoins available on Coinbase or Robinhood or Bitcoin miners or anything crypto? In order of money amount, Queenspark, Maricipher, Bitfarms, but MSTR dwarfs them all. Crypto Golfer, MSTR, MicroStrategy. Oh yeah, what's his face? The guy at MicroStrategy. I'm blanking on his name. The guy who is always talking about Bitcoin. There is no second best. Michael Saylor. There it is. Man, that guy, he's so funny. MicroStrategy. Oh yeah, market cap 23 billion. Forget Iron. Yeah, Crypto Golfer, you got to make your own choices as far as which ones you feel strongly about. And that's why I tell people research. You might not like Iron and someone else might really love it. And that's okay. I don't ever want to come off in this channel of telling people, too much of what I like and don't like, because I don't want to influence people not to buy something when it ends up being good. But I am going to honestly say, hey, I see some concerns here because of this or that. But I want to, again, we're all human. I want to be aware of my biases as well and consciously do my best to not steer any of my viewers in the wrong direction if something were to go up, because then they'll say, well, I listened to you and I didn't buy and now this thing did great. I don't want that to happen, so I'm trying my best to be objective too. I hope that makes sense. MicroStrategy though, man, this thing, remember what we talked about with the 50? It's holding above the 50, kind of like Bitcoin, this downward channel. looking a little stronger than Bitcoin in some ways. Oh, yeah. Overall, the chart is very similar to Bitcoin. So MicroStrategy goes the way Bitcoin goes, but definitely holding up better strength. There is no second best. I love all those Michael Saylor memes and videos where he's just freaking out. Well, what's your top three Bitcoins? Well, or top three cryptos. Number one, Bitcoin. Number two, Bitcoin. There is no second best. Are you kidding me? And he just freaks out. That guy cracks me up. Love that dude. Though I heard, I don't know if it's true, that he's no longer with MicroStrategy. Crypto Golfer, appreciate you as always. We were talking about this before, and I want to talk about this more, but just a couple ways that I look at buying or dollar cost averaging. Stochastic RSI, blue flipping above the orange on the weekly, but God, look how much profits he missed, at least with some of the bigger cryptos. Most stocks are not this bad where you're like, I missed out on 40% of the profits. Here was better. But we were talking about the stochastic and the buy sell signals. Ooh. How on the weekly, those are good areas to buy. I want to bring this up more. Just again, I talk so much about dollar cost averaging, but I want to make sure I'm sharing ways to confirm. And, we have the moving averages, we have the fib retracements, but to get confirmation with other indicators, the stochastic RSI, the RSI, buy sell signal indicators. I mean, eventually, you could have everything showing positive, but you still got to get some skin in the game and put your money where your mouth is at the end of the day. And if you do your research, and even if something's very red, but you're like, you know what? God damn it, I believe in this thing. Like Apple and the great financial crisis. Let's go back to there. Let's take off this buy sell signal. Ugh. Actually, no. Let's keep it on just for a minute, because I want to go back to the monthly. Yeah, look at this. Monthly buy sell signal indicator. When it flipped buy, .com bubble, this indicator told you buy Apple at 25 cents, and then it'll do 1,000x in 20 years. Great financial crisis. Showed you the first good time to buy. Yes, you may have missed out on some good profits, but again, I look at the weekly too. So, don't miss out on those opportunities. Man, imagine waiting all this time, or like getting in on this one. Like, hey, Apple hit the 100-week moving average and everything's looking great. And then you're like, duck. He's not the CEO anymore, but he's the chairman of the board. Okay. There's a flaw in my DCA strategy. I ran out of dollars. Yep. For this month's budget, I still actually have a little bit. I'm waiting for confirmation. I did DCA some out of this month's budget for me personally, but I still have a little extra because I am waiting for confirmation, and I believe things may go a little bit lower. We were talking about that on the daily. Again, daily's losing Bitcoin. So, yeah, I encourage all you guys, please, for the love of God, set a budget. Don't invest more than you can afford to lose, because, again, we might go down for 3 to 6 months or more. I don't know. But if we do, you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay leaving that money in there, trusting the research you did, trusting the decision you made because of the technical analysis you've learned from myself and others. But again, nothing here is financial advice. But the reason, God, I was talking to a person I know, and he's not emotionally mature enough to be investing, but he's trading, which is even worse. And he's selling bottoms. They're like, oh, crypto sucks. I sold everything. I'm like, what are you doing? You don't sell in the bottom And he was like all excited when Bitcoin was up here and buying, and then he's selling down here. And he's like an emotional person. He's like, oh yeah, crypto's great. Like, and guys, by the way, my buddy, he's one of my indicators because he does not talk about Bitcoin or stocks unless there's euphoria. And I shit you not, he messaged me right around here in March. He's like, Bitcoin's new all-time high. Like, get in, get in. And I'm like, no, like, now's not the time to get in. Here was the time to get in. You know, time in the market's more important than time in the market. He's like, whatever, I'm going to do what I want. And then recently with the big sell-off, he's like, crypto sucks, I'm out. I'm like, face palm. What the hell are you doing, man? You know, so here on this channel, I'm doing my absolute best to help people like him not be like him and do the opposite and make good decisions. Patient decisions. You know, you guys have probably seen the delayed gratification test where this is one of the psychology things. I remember seeing this in my master's program where they have marshmallows in front of kids and the person puts a marshmallow there. They say, you can eat this now, or if you wait and don't eat it, you can get another one. You can get 2 marshmallows, and the person just leaves. They don't tell the kid how long they have to wait. And a lot of kids, they'll eat the marshmallow, but some kids are very patient. They'll wait 10 minutes, 30 minutes. You want to be that kid who's waiting. Trust your plan. Trust your research. Don't be like my greedy, emotional friend. And I don't know. This is something like I'm over a decade in my field, psychology. And guys, I see emotions as an indicator. I kid you not. Like when I see euphoria, like I question it, even with my clients, because I'm like, okay, is this good for them? Because maybe they're falling back into a bad pattern that led them to depression before. And they're very excited now, but you know, is this going to last? You want something that'll last over time. Or if someone's like very fearful, very depressed, like we know that's not going to last. You just got to push through it with patience and believing in yourself and putting in the work when things are bad. I look at crypto and investing the same way. Put in the work, put in the money, put in the investments, the research when things are horrible and depressing, and it'll eventually pay off. God, there's so many similarities between the way markets work and the way people work. And that's why I wanted to make this channel, because there's so many channels out there that are just all hype and shilling and scammy. I'm just trying to help you guys take a practical look. Anyways, I'm going to call it there. I'm going to move on from water to coffee. And I did a mini workout this morning. I'm going to do a bigger workout right after this. I stared at the computer for too long. So hope you all are doing well. Hope you guys found this helpful. And have a wonderful weekend. Hope you guys have some great weather wherever you are viewing from. Get out there. Enjoy summer. It's August, one of the warmest months of the year. Get outside. Get off the computer. Don't look at charts every single day. You want to be able to meditate and keep your emotions in check. And that way you can use your plan, whatever plan financially you made, in a way that makes sense. Of course, consult with a financial advisor first. If you're investing, don't go purely off what YouTubers are talking about. Not a good plan. So, thanks again for watching, guys. Have a wonderful day.